Hi, hello, welcome to Vivid Vibration. My name is Christina and I'm going to be doing your general read for the upcoming time. I don't know, I don't know what's going on with these videos, but we'll see how much longer we have. We'll do it until we don't. Okay, let's see what's going on with my Taurus. And Taurus, I did want to say to you, because especially my one Taurus, Tony, I know, like, I love you, you watch all of my videos, but I think that I was picking up on like a lot of outside energy from another Taurus, but a Taurus is on like another end of the spectrum from you. And one of the things I want to say about spectrum, you know, that's why roles can be reversed, you know, because people are experiencing an energy, you know, and sometimes that energy is coming from other people. And I know that you made a comment about, you know, possibly going through an ending. And so it could be that like you were on the other side of that role. You know, take it how it resonates. Always take any of it how it resonates, because much love. But okay, so we have here the Destroyer, the Empty Room, the Orphan, the Mask, and the Warrior. Man, energy is just tense. I feel like everybody's on edge. Like there's just this, I almost feel like you're just like picking fights with people. Warrior card's been coming out a lot lately. You know, and it's just that idea that, you know, like you're fighting battles that don't even need to be fought. Like you're so on edge, you're like so triggered that it's like, you're just like fighting people. I feel like it's just a fear of abandonment coming through. You know, like you're afraid of what you're gonna lose. That's your fear. Yeah. I mean, it's a real fear for a lot of people, you know? I think sometimes until you actually lose everything, and that's not pretty, I can vouch for that. But like once you've lost everything, you're no longer afraid of loss. You know, it's like you can like, you let go of that fear, like that fear is gone. It doesn't make the isolation necessarily more pleasant, you know, it just doesn't seem like the end of the world anymore. And I feel like that's that fear you're facing, a loss of something that feels like you're losing everything, like you're losing everything you've ever known. And that's why you've held on to it for as long as you have. I know one of my aquas is Taurus rising. And the Empty Room, the Destroyer. You know, like, but I think this fear of loss is like what's making you fight everybody, and what's making you pull away, because I want to say you're the one who's ready to let it go. You know, like I feel like you're the one who's like, I'm so tired of like being this person. Like I feel trapped. I mean, I feel like there's just like almost a sense of like you feel claustrophobic in your environment, and you recognize the fact that you are your own worst enemy in like reaching for your goals and your dreams. You know, like whatever your purpose was, you know, that's outside of that, what we're fed, you know, to believe is that we are here to, you know, consume, eat, die. You know, I mean, like people are so service, man. Like people have no concept of like calling or purpose. You know, it's like feed the pigs, man. You know, like that's how it feels sometimes. You know, you just look at people and you're in awe of how empty they are. And Taurus, I feel like you've been carrying this feeling of emptiness, you know, like I feel like you were like that's coming through to me here is just like you feel empty. You feel like you are in the whitewashed tomb, my brother. You know, like, like that's not a pleasant place to be. I get it. It's not a pleasant place to be. And so, you know, you're I think wanting to come in as the destroyer. You know, you're recognizing that you're never gonna, like, as long as you reside within the mask, you're never gonna leave the mask. As long as you maintain status quo, you're always gonna be status quo. You can't be status quo and unconventional and profound. You know, like, those do not go hand in hand. They're not best friends. I mean, unless you're like, I don't know, those like LA yogi masters or whatever, you know. And not to discredit any of it, because I feel like a lot of it, what people don't realize is that it's a study in and of itself, you know, like it's its own subject. I mean, I have an advantage of that with the whole academics, you know. If you have parents in academics, you recognize that, you know, like, thought is its own profession. You're very thoughtful, Taurus. You know, you're a very, very thoughtful person. You have a lot of insight, and you have a lot of creativity that you're wanting to share, I feel like. And I feel like instead of being able to engage in that, you have sat in your status quo and watched that passion and that. It's almost like you were watching yourself get washed away. Excuse me. It's like you were starting to disappear. You know, I think, like, as we get older, you know, when we fall into habits, the longer those habits take over our lives, like, the more foreign we feel to ourselves, you know. And sometimes you just look at people, you know, like, even people, you know, my age, who are like in their 30s and their 40s, it's like you look at them and you're like, you are so hollow. Like, at some point in time you turned your back on yourself and you never, like, you disconnected completely. You disconnected from your creativity, you disconnected from your thought, you disconnected from your emotion. And that's where I feel like you're at right now, Taurus. You just feel so disconnected from who you were when you set out to be, you know, all those years ago. And it's like, I feel like that sorrow and that regret, you know, like, the thing of it, it's because the flip side of that coin, right, is that you worked so hard to maintain your status quo. You know, it's like, but I've invested all this time and energy. Like, that's a lot to walk away from, right? Yes, it is. It is. And I think that to that I say, some people have a stronger, some people have more difficulty letting it go than others, and that's not to say that either is better than the other, because quite frankly I think they're both painful as fuck. You know, like, I don't think that I've ever felt content in either role, you know. So, you know, like, I think the choice is yours, you know, like, you have this choice to make. Like, there's this abandonment that you're experiencing either way, abandonment of you, you know. And I think that, like, the reason, like, personally, that I chose to not abandon myself was because I wanted to experience something that I had missed, you know. I mean, it's like, as selfish of a thing as that is to say, you know, like, I also think that, you know, I experienced a beautiful life, and I knew that I was, like, that was going to be the only life that I was ever going to have, and that horrified me, because I knew that there were so many more things to experience in life, you know, and that was my hope, and I have experienced things that I would have never otherwise experienced. I have learned lessons that I never dreamed of learning, you know what I mean? And that's a fear, you know, like, hopefully you can go into it and be a little bit more prepared than I was, you know, like, you know, like, you can face your fears, Taurus. I just feel like you feel invested and you feel exhausted. and it's triggering you, and you're really just like, I want to say, coming in this as the destroyer, in spite of the fact that being the destroyer will, I want to say, change life as you know it forevermore. It's real, man. Like, I don't know. It's real. I'm sorry. That crossroads, man. That's like a life-changing kind of crossroads. I get it. Okay. What else can we get here for my Taurus? Five of Pentacles and Eight of Pentacles. I mean, walking away from manipulation. Walking away from financial manipulation and control. And I want to say, for some of my Taurus, you've been in business with people who've kind of like held you in place. You know, like well, you'll never get it this cheap anywhere else. It's almost like they were like the lowest bidder. Oh, that hurts. Karma's a bitch, man. but it was like you got the lowest bidder, you know, like this person had, you know, like the space that you needed, or like the connection that you needed, and it was like you took that space and you took that connection, but you realized it's the cheapest one there is. Like people don't buy that shit. It's ratchet, you know. But you bought that shit somehow in terms of your business. For others of you, I think it's in terms of a relationship. For some of you, even still, it could be dual, you know. It could be like you work with them, and so like you can't, if you're not working with me, you can't do this, you know. Like it's financial. There's like financial shit that you've stood in place for a hot minute, and it's like the longer you sit there, the cheaper you feel. That's God. Oh my God. Listen, I get it. And you're like, no, like this is not okay. You know, like, I don't want your ratchet ass product, you know? And again, it's coming through in a business sense of like you've been thinking you were getting a good deal, you know? And then I think you were just starting to realize the fact that you weren't getting a good deal. You were being manipulated. And and you were being devalued, you know? It was like they didn't want you to see your worth, because they didn't want you to leave. And so they fed into a concept of you being less than what you were. And it was because originally you thought you were getting a good deal. You were like, oh, wow, awesome. And then, you know, you were like, wait a second, you know, skirt. Okay, so we got that storyline out. Holy shit. This is 14 minutes in already, and I've barely pulled my cards. Okay. So, I mean, the idea here is, you know, walking away from that manipulation. You know, that I think that's why you're coming in as the destroyer, that you're wanting to like break this mask, break this facade. You know, that you've held on to it for a long time because you spent a lot of time investing into it. You spent your time, energy, and money investing into this project, right? Investing into this relationship, however that plays out. But it's like, I've invested time and money in this, and I like if I just walk away, then I'm not just losing that person, I'm losing part of myself, right? In the end, it's not about losing those people, it's about losing yourself. And you're afraid to lose yourself. But it's because you've identified yourself through people who cheapened you, and that's its own thing in and of itself. But you figure it out. But the thing is that you're like, that you can't, there's nowhere left to grow. You capped out in your environment, and it's a comfortable environment. It's not a bad place to be. It's just, that's it. It's like that was it. Like, that's what everybody's selling themselves for. It's almost kind of like you wake up from this. I mean, I feel like there's just like this, you get smacked upside the head. Like somebody says some shit to you or something. I don't know. Like, I would be curious how that plays out. But it's like something smacks you upside the head, and you're like, you are a dumb motherfucker. Like, do you see how wasted your talent, your power and your skill and your creativity? Like, do you see what a fucking waste you've made of your life? Like, all the potential that you hold. That's what I feel like it is, because it's like, wait a second, like I'm so much more than this. Like this when I look at me and my value and I look at that, I'm like, no. I have to walk away. And you have the Seven of Wands, the King of Wands, and the High Priestess. And, Taurus, I really do feel like it's just kind of like this idea of illumination, like you're like, I see this for what it is. And I think that makes it easier for you to let it go, because even though you feel very attached to it, like you're recognizing what it is that you've been attached to and how that has served you poorly in a way. Like, it's not to say that it didn't, that you weren't able to like have your business successfully, or like get it off the ground, or build a family together. I mean, like however that plays out, it's not to say that you weren't able to do amazing things. It's just that if you're constantly growing and changing, then your ideas are going to change, your ideas are going to develop, your person is going to change. No one is the same for their entire lives. I mean, like, I hope not, for everyone else's sake, for, because like how can you, but okay, so that's the thing, is that there are some people who are happy that way, and they're not less of people for being happy with that, any more than you're less of a person for not being happy with that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like these people and lifestyles that should be in conflict with each other. You know what I mean? Like, it should be okay. And it's not a rejection of those people. It's not to say that they're not worthy of your love or your time or your attention. It's to say thank you. I have to move forward. Like I have to, like, I'm following my intuition. And like it's like my spirit's calling to me, and I have to move. Damn, Taurus, y'all have had some of the most like deeply heartfelt, inspired. I love it. Okay. I mean, I hate it for you. I hate that you're going through this, but I love, like, hello, where did my Taurus, where have you guys been hiding? Okay. Three of Swords, the Lovers, the Five of Wands, and Santa Muerta. It's interesting to me that this is all, because I feel like what I've been saying has been heavy on the idea of like walking away from something that you were partnered in, right? Whether that's your relationship or, like a business partner. But it's that idea of like, of feeling stabbed in the back, of feeling like, wait a second, like like, yeah, it was a good deal in the beginning, but like now it's just a cheap trick. You know what I mean? Like it, like, oh, what's the, like, the analogy that I want to say? Just kind of like the economy, like inflation occurred, and you're still paying me with some minimum wage type shit. You know what I mean? Like, and so you're looking around at everybody else and how they've evolved and how they've grown. You know what I mean? And you're like, what the fuck am I taking pennies? There's like fucking shit to be made. You know what I mean? Whether that's fiscally or emotionally or spiritually or however that plays out for you. But it's just this idea of like feeling like tricked. You know, like I feel like you feel tricked, devalued, and tricked. And I think you're realizing that your only means of rebirth is the death of this connection, the death of this friendship, the death of this business partnership. Like the only way you're going to be reborn into your beginning, into your, you know, the thing that you sold for another person and what they offered you. Like it was you got cheated, and you're really seeing that, and you're recognizing the only way out is through. You know, I gotta push through this. I have to let this, like, I feel like you're like, I have to let this die so that I can start again. That's a big revelation to have. And then you have the Knight of Cups and the Knight of Swords on that Knight action. I mean, the Knight of Cups is the idea of like missing out. You know, like, and again, it's kind of that idea of like seeing how valuable everything else is and looking at what you have and being like, yo, I got the short end of this stick. You know, like you feel like you're missing out. You feel like what just happened here, you know? And the Knight of Swords is, you know, like a call to action. Again, it's that idea, like I feel like you get smacked like fucking straight upside the head with something, you know, like something happens that you just like, it's like, you know, like get your head out of your ass, bitch, you know? Like, and it's like you, like all you're doing is sitting around missing and feeling like you're, you know, like go, you know, like do the thing you want to do, like be the person you want to be, you know what I mean? Like stop being so afraid, stop holding yourself back because you're afraid. And the more you start to see other people like evolve and change and grow, like the smaller I feel like your life starts to feel, you know? And it's that idea of just like being held captive. And like, but who's holding you there? What's holding you there? It's your fear, you know? Fucking fear, man. It's a bitch. Okay, let's do an archetype and we'll call it a read for my Taurus. The Mountain. Yeah. It is kind of that idea of like you going in and you recognizing your value. I mean, I feel like there's almost like this like journey into self, you know, that you've been like engaged in, that has like, so that you've been like, wait a second, this is my talent and this is my power and this is my like you've started to go in and been like taking stock and taking inventory of yourself, and what it is that you bring to the table and what it is that you have to offer, and how what you're taking in exchange for what you're capable of giving is like insulting. You know what I mean? You're like, I'm insulted by this at this point. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's that idea like that you went in and you discovered what your value was, and you were like, nah, and now you're finding the courage, I think, to do what you previously lacked the courage to do, and with it, with reason. You had invested a lot of time and energy into, building the status quo, and living in the, like in the corners of your dreams and desires, but it seems like you're going to be busted out of that. So go ahead, Taurus. I'm so proud of you. Um, this was such a fun read. Thank you so much for sharing that with me, and I will see you again soon.